Welcome to the channel where all you gotta do is finish up some of the inner fender well, radiator support, radiator notches, that kind of stuff.
Okay, so I've been scrubbing away. You can kind of tell a little bit by the mess on the floor, but I'm getting all the paint off of this and undercoating and junk like that. But I've started filling up these holes. I got a couple of more pieces of plugs that I need to put in here where the holes were to mount the hinges. Same thing on that side. That one I haven't started welding yet. So I'm just getting everything cleaned up here, and then I started welding this. I gotta do a little bit of dressing and then tapping this into submission. It's a little bit not perfectly flush, but it's quite close. There's a little better view of my terrible welding. So I had it a little bit too high current, so and then this over here I'm gonna have to fill that in because it's kind of all rusted out there. This side's the same, but I made a kind of a filler piece to fill that in. Won't be the same there. But what I'll do, this is an old welder's trick, and they make fancy pieces for this too, but basically you just put a piece of copper on the backside, and the MIG wire won't stick to the copper. So, and then if you just use a long enough pipe, that gets all boogered, you can see where the MIG welder hit it a couple times, and then you just keep chopping it off, put it in the vise, flatten it out again, and then this will work for years. That one little piece of pipe, it's just a drop off from other stuff I was doing. So I'll fill this all in. I'll get this, cleaned up, dressed up, and then kind of tap it into place, and then finish welding this little part over here, and then I'll get copper backer, fill that in there, make this all nice and smooth. And I'll do this one, this one, this one, this one. You see I kind of did some cleaning up on the firewall too. It needs obviously a lot more work. And I got a lot of holes to fill in because most of this stuff is not needed. Like the steering needs to come through, but this is where the original brake booster was, and there was a doubler plate there. And then this is like electrical came through and stuff like that. So I'll probably block all of this stuff off, honestly, because I'm not going to need any of that. This is where the throttle pedal came through. I'll use cable, so that won't be there. This is where the heater came through, and the blower motor for the heater came through. I'm not going to use this heater. The heater in this car is going to be in the trunk, so this will all be blocked off. So I'm going to keep the standard firewall. I might have to put a couple little, indentations in here to clear this and that, but pretty much it's going to be smooth, if you can call this. This is factory crinkles. They're all like this. Unfortunately, Ford didn't know how to make this part good, so I mean, they could have made it good. They just need more stamping stages in the die. It's going to be hidden under the engine and under the carpet, so they didn't bother. So anyway, yeah, this is, brake proportioning valve mounted there, fuel line. The fuel line came through here, brake lines came through here. Anyway, I'll probably fill all this up. And then obviously this big hole, that's going to get filled up because we're deleting the shock towers. So, but my object for today is to fill all these 6 holes in, and then I can get the forward bars. I can paint all behind here, get this all cleaned up on the other side. So when I put those in, it won't be like inaccessible to get to. Okay, so I got this guy all done. I did miss a little spot here after I looked at it. You can see there's a little missed attack there. So this isn't going to be a super visible area. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it'll get a coat of epoxy primer and, smoothed out a little bit. Anyway, I'm in the middle of doing this other guy over here. Have to do a little bit of grinding, dress up these wells, some hammer and dolly work, and then it'll look just as bad as this side. Okay, so I got those guys done-ish. So now I'm, since I got the MIG set up with 23 wire, I'm going to tackle this guy here, which is kind of a disaster. Somebody hacked this off. This is the original, piece, so it's got the VIN number on it, so I don't really want to replace it. I could stamp new ones in there, sort of, but this is all a mess. It's like Swiss cheese, and it's been welded and ground on and ground through. Like this had a hole through it, so I haven't ground on this yet, but basically what I did is put a piece of copper under there and clamped it. And if we can get a video under here. Okay, so there you can see the bottom. I haven't ground anything yet, and it's somewhat flat. Why won't you focus? So there was just a rust hole, or they ground on it and it was super thin. Anyway, so I welded that guy up. So we need to do some, there we go, finally focused. And then this has got the same thing. This edge is all boogered up, and so I'm gonna fill that in, grind it down, make it look, build a new edge here. And then this is just such a disaster over here. I think I'm just gonna cut this whole flange off and weld a new one on there. It's a shame people do this kind of work, but they do. It's an art. It's an art to fix it, I guess. So the other side, luckily or unluckily, they had a new piece for this side because they boogered it up so bad. Because typically the battery trays get all rusted out because, battery acid, metal, don't like each other. And so this time I'm just going to make a whole new piece that kind of mimics looking like that and fills in the area where the shock towers used to be. So I won't have the problem because I'm going to build it from scratch. But this one I don't really want to build it from scratch because, the number. So anyway, I'm going to tackle this too. I guess I could put copper behind there. I'll think about it, but maybe I'll fill in the parts that are easy, and then like this area here, I'll make a new piece and fill it in. We'll see. I'll do whatever makes the most sense, but anyway, this is how you do it. You put a piece of copper in there, tack, 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 till it's all filled up. Once it gets some tacks around the outside, then it's pretty easy. You can run an actual line of MIG, cross. But at first you got to go all the way around the outside and be super careful because it's so thin. It just wants to get bigger and bigger and bigger if you're not careful with it. And your MIG setup's super important too. You got to have your feed right and your, where is that? Yeah, that thing. Your power right. So anyway, this is how you do it. Alright, so while I'm over here, it has these really clever methods to hold stuff. Like these I think are to hold the windshield washer doodad. I don't know. So they just like spear a hole through there and use a wood screw to. So I've already done a couple of these where I just hammered them down in black flat, and then I'll put copper on the back side and fill it in and grind it. So probably a little bit easier filling these up than just like that hole there, because you don't need like most of the metal you can push it back in where it used to be. Anyway, so we'll get all the rest of these holes filled up and cleaned up and tidied up and yeah. Okay, so I got this kind of welded up. I still have to replace that, but I moved the rotisserie, front half of the rotisserie out of the way, and I'm gonna work on getting this fixed and the radiator support in there. But while I was doing the radiator support thing, I remembered that this doesn't have any holes in it, and the radiator comes all the way down to this, to the bottom of, you know, right here. So I'm gonna drill some holes in this guy. So I got them laid out. Some of them there are already holes in there, so I just welded a washer on here, crappily, and that'll be the pilot for the hole saw. So I'm gonna put a hole here, 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 and then same thing on the other side. So there'll be 10 holes. And then this currently only has a few, these oval ones, but I'll add some more in here. So they are coming off of the splitter. We'll drive into that and utilize the entire core. It's already very close to the width of this. Like that BMW radiator is like from there to there. There to there. It's really, really quite close height and width. So, but I want to utilize the bottom half of it. And the reason it matters on this is because this is really two radiators. The top half and the bottom half are separate radiators. Like right here, from here down is one radiator, from here up is another radiator. I'm not sure why BMW did it that way, but if I block this off, whichever bank of the engine is, right bank or left bank, is going to get much less cooling. So that's not good. So I'm going to try to avoid that. Getting in there and show you what we did. Cut a bunch of holes. So now I'll make a little bell mouth tool that kind of folds them in on each other. So the air's got a nicer entry, and it also, that'll help with stiffness a little bit. That ought to get some air to it. Plus there's also a little bit of gap between the radiator here, so we can go down that way a little bit. Okay, so I found some hunks of scrap, this and that, laying around, and machined them up to make basically a dimple die that doesn't need a press. So a little chamfer on there. It slides in like that. So, I think it's fairly obvious how it works. Pick a random hole here. Get this out of the way. That's going to need the same treatment, so I can use the same tool. Pieces dropping everywhere. So, I think that looks pretty good. Lever focus. It's kind of what I wanted, so I'll just deburr this a little bit. This one looks like it needs a little bit of filing on there. So we'll get some filing happening and then finish the rest of those up. I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so that worked pretty much like I anticipated. However, you can tell that I did this one first, and then when I did this one next to it, it put a bump in that one, flattened it back out, and then I did this one, and then I did that one, and bumped that one. So I think I'm gonna have to put a little chamfer on the side of this, or make these a little bit farther apart. I spaced these at 2 inches, so it's a ½ inch between them. And that's probably not enough unless I put a chamfer on this guy, which I totally could do. But I think that looks pretty good. It looks legit. Anyway, the only, nobody's gonna see it except for, you know, everybody that watches this video, so 40 people will see it. Just let the air through, so that should. And then that piece over there is going to get the same treatment. Radiator core support. I'll do the same thing to that. That's even thinner material, so maybe I'll just take this guy here, put this on here and walk it with a mallet to straighten those things out that got, you know, kind of boogered after. Ones on the ends look nice. Okay, so pop some holes in the core support here and bell mouthed them. They're looking a little rough still. Haven't done any deburring on them yet, but yeah, it's the basic idea. So any air that gets to there is pretty much going to go through there. Should be fine. It's not like air going to radiators is supposed to be smooth or anything. More turbulence, better heat transfer, right? Yeah, I think that's how it works. Okay, so time to box in the home of the radiator. So I'm just going to tack this guy together, and then I'll take it on the bench, and then I'll kind of dress it up inside here and get it to fit nice, and then I'll take all this in here. Also the other side, I've already cut that out. This one's a little different because it has the radiator hose like on the bottom, so it's got to get farther down there. This one's just got a drain over here and clear the actual radiator. So instead of trying to bend these things, I just cut little pieces out and use the old 1, 2, 3 block to keep it square. So, yeah, little puzzle pieces, and so we'll get that all finished up and cleaned up, and then we'll move on to the next dilemma. Alright, so I made my boxy box here, which is still not perfect, but essentially what it's going to look like. So I've just tacked it together. You can see the heat affected zone there. So I'm going to trim this up before I, weld anything in. But before that, I'm going to put the radiator in. Make sure it sits nice and flat like I like. And I'm gonna have to do some tune-ups, little filing here and there. Get it to sit just the way I want it. It's hard to do with one hand, but anyway, trust me. Okay, so those are muy caliente, but it's yeah, needs a little bit of dress up work, and then we'll get them. We may have to do a little bit of filing on the inside of these. Side of here and stuff. We'll do a little bit of filing to get that to fit. Luckily I got my favorite tool. Yeah, look what I forgot to do. That's not welded. I'll have to do a little touch up on that. Let's go see if these guys fit. Alright, 5 seconds later, and tap those guys in. Looks fine. Didn't even need to do any filing on them. Yeah, so that's pretty close there, but I don't think it's quite centered right now, but it's got some clearance on that side. So I think that's going to be just fine. Inch as good as a mile, as they say. Okay, so I got this all sort of mocked up. I got my my forward bars in on both sides, just that one bolt holding it. But this side has this original pattern on it, this weird whatever shape, a little bumpy thing there. So anyway, I can't use the original apron on this guy because it has, you know, the bump for the battery, which is not going to be there anymore. But you can't buy one of them for this side. So I bought one of them for that side, and I'm going to put it on this side. So what I'm going to do is, I just ordered it. When it shows up, I'm going to saw it off right here. And then this old piece of junk here, which somebody did some booger welding on, but that's fine. So I'm going to saw this off here and then unfold this fold here. Because this has got all the right stampy stuff in there and holes in it and stuff. So this is all boogered up, and I can add new material here. So this will just, I'll just flatten this out. I'll go back to the English wheel and tree stump and whatever, and I'll fold this back how it was, and then fold it down where it needs to. Alright, here's my tree stump and my myrrh. Oh yeah, most importantly, ear thingies. When you're doing this, don't try to beat it into submission all in one hit.
Lots of little hits. I don't know much about this, but I do know that. Okay, so that's, I wouldn't call it flat, but I think I'm going to need to take this to the stretcher or the shrinker, shrink this up a little bit, because every time I try to straighten it out, it just folds again, so I think I need to shrink that a little bit so this fold comes out of there. And then I got to cut this at the right place, and then bend it, put it in my press brake and bend it. Okay, a couple of kicks in the shrinker. You can see the marks from it. And quite a bit straighter. So I maybe need a few more of those. And then a little hammer and dolly work. Okay, so I got this thing. It's not right. It's close. It's kind of where it goes, within a quarter of an inch. So yeah, this thing is supposed to be straight from here to here, and then this is on an arc. So I'm gonna have to play on the shrinker to get this curved like that one is. Okay, so this arrived in the mail a few days ago. It's kind of, well, crappy. Just everything is just kind of not very good. It's sort of like the floors I put in the Bronco a while ago. All the features are just not very crisp. This one doesn't even. Looks like somebody beat on this with a hammer. Yeah, it's just not very good. It kind of has these little crinkle parts in there. Not very good. The other thing that's not so cool, look at the wrinkle in that. Ay. The other thing that's not so good is it doesn't have the holes in it. Like, where the fender bolts up. Well, this is an aftermarket panel as well, but at least that one has holes in it. It needs to have these holes in it to bolt the fender to it, and it doesn't. Like, I'm not going to use that piece, so it's fine. I'm just going to cut it off, on here. So this piece will go in the dumpster, but yeah, there's no holes in there. A bit strange. So I'm gonna have to do a little bit of hammering and dollying and stuff to make this even look slightly presentable. I don't know how you'd make a whole body out of a whatever aftermarket panels like this. It would look like absolute dog poop without 1,000 hours of rework. Alright, so I did a little bit of hammer and dolly work on this thing, just quickie. But that's approximately what it's going to look like. At first glance it looks, symmetrical, because it's the same shape and stuff. So the main reason it is the forward bars are going to crash into where the battery thing was, so that's the main reason. This contrast isn't very good being all black and stuff, but anyway. So now my next dilemma is, this is the piece I cut off, and you can see it's pretty rough looking, but it's generally the right shape. I mean, it has the right slope in here.
And the fact that they didn't cut the holes out means there's not a bunch of extra holes in it, which is, I guess, nice. So a guy could just, you know, make this sliver piece in here. It's like a, I don't know, 3/4 inch gap or something. It narrows down to nothing up here. So I can make a little sliver and weld that in. And I don't know, maybe I'll do that. This thing is pretty rough though. I'm gonna have to do a bunch of hammer and dolly work on this, and cutting holes in it and get it over here where the light is. I'm not sure which way is going to be the better way or which way is going to be the fastest way, but all these little dents and stuff, they kind of, this is, like, look how little that is compared to that. That's supposed to be, like, these are the same part. I mean, mirrors of each other, but this is all boogered up over here. This one doesn't even have these little dents in it. So anyway, this is just 1,000 decisions you have to make when, and this one doesn't have this dent in it. This is an aftermarket part as well, so I think this one's more important though. And then these things are really terrible, these little stress concentrators or crumple areas. So yeah, I don't know what to do, but I gotta do something, so. Alright, you can probably figure out which decision I made. So I decided just to take this piece. It's not all hacked up and welded and has this little feature on it, and you know, make this into the top of that. So I'll have to have a wedge cut thing in here, but that's fine. So I got all this thing aligned and clecoed in place. In case you don't know, that's a cleco. It's just a holder, a temporary holder together thing. I still got the vice grips on here, but I can pop those off and everything will pretty much stay where it is. So a little bit of an issue. This thing sticks out here, this little dent thing, and this one sticks in, and this one sticks out, and this one sticks in, because you know it's the wrong side. So this thing is touching over here where it sticks out, and it's got lots of room here, and the opposite on this side. It's got lots of room here and it's touching there. So I may need to put a notch in this or hammer and dolly it or something, because as you can see, when I push this to where it goes, it pops out the back, right? It's like a fat lady in a little dress. Anyway, not a big deal, but I think this looks pretty good. Honestly, it's all level. The curvature is the same the whole way, so I only have about 3/8 of an inch to fill in there, but I guess once you're filling it in, you might as well be a model. So I'll do that on the bench. I'll like tack that in there, and there with a couple of pieces, and then I'll bring it over to the bench and put the whole piece in, weld it, and hammer and dolly it, and weld it and hammer and dolly it. Thanks for watching. If you like this content and want more, subscribe, like, and share.